powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life, the podcast that where we go beyond the surface solutions and dive into what it truly means to heal, grow, and live well. I'm your host Avik, dear listeners, and today's episode is one that speaks straight to the nervous system, the soul, and everything in between. Yeah. So before we delve deep into the discussion today, dear listeners, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt stuck in a loop? Like mentally, emotionally, physically, despite your best efforts? Or uh, ever wondered why anxiety keeps showing up in your chest? Or why physical pain seems tied to unspoken grief? And also, what if healing is not just about managing the symptoms, but about reconnecting to your body, your emotions, and your truth? Great to think about, right? Do let us know what you think, your perspective on our social media platforms and all the podcast platforms as well. Would love to listen to your perspectives. Well, you are not alone, and today we are joined by the two incredible guides on this journey. Please welcome Greg Vost and Michael Nolan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, before we delve deep into the discussion today, I would quickly love to introduce you with both. So, dear listeners, Greg and Michael, the co founders of Embodied Recovery, a transformational treatment center in Silicon Valley that's reimagining how we heal addiction, trauma, and the mental health struggles. So, through their empowered living teachings, Greg and Michael blend the modern psychology, ancient wisdom, and the 12 step recovery, and also a powerful breathwork tradition called Sundo to help people move beyond the symptom management and into sustainable and the embodied transformation. So, whether you are navigating the anxiety, trauma, chronic health issues, or just yearning to feel more at home in your body and your life, then this conversation is for you. So, I'll not take much of your time. Let's get started. Welcome to the show again.
Yes, thank you. What a wonderful welcome. Yeah, that was a great intro. Thank you, Avik.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Greg and Michael, I mean, I love to start with the foundation. I mean, how does the according to how does nervous system regulation actually support both our emotional and the physical healing? If you can share for the listeners.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question to start with.
Mhm.
Yeah, the nervous system's response is the foundation for much of the way that we respond and react to what happens in life, and for many of the individuals that are coming into treatment that have been struggling with addiction and mental health issues for such a long time have really been stuck in this fight, flight, or freeze sort of reactivity, and so using the Sundo practice as a foundational element for our programming, it just allows for people to feel a bit more centered, a bit more grounded. It certainly has some higher reaching goals as people continue their practice long term, but just as an initial first week introduction into treatment, it's just a wonderful, gentle practice to get people back into their body and to help that process of regulating the nervous system so that they can feel more at home within their body rather than so on edge.
Lovely, lovely. And uh, many people still see stress or maybe anxiety as just a kind of mental thing. Uh, so, what you love to mention, what are some of the signs that dysregulated nervous system is showing up in the body? What do you say?
Yeah. I think one of them you mentioned right at the top of the show about tightness in chest,
Yeah.
shoulders, neck. Um, we can feel flooded with sometimes with heat, and oftentimes that heat might be rising to our head. And primary aims of the Sundo practice is to create what's called fire down and water up. So we're seeking, in essence, to bring the warm energy from our heart down to the lower part of our body, and then make our head feel cool and refreshed, which is quite the reversal from the state that we're in when we're anxious. So our body, through this practice, we can feel a sense of invigoration in our body while at the same time feeling cool and even-headed and refreshed in our minds.
Hmm, I agree. Wow. So, I mean, this is something like I wish more people knew because um, you can be doing all the right things like medicines, exercise, therapy, but if the nervous system is stuck in fight or flight mode or freeze, healing, I mean, can feel just out of reach. I mean, am I correct? What do you have to say on this?
Sure. I mean, just from our own experience, we've seen so many people that have come in saying, I've been to 10 different treatment centers or seen these many healers or done these healing ceremonies, or I've been in therapy for, 20 years and I'm still struggling in these ways. And so, yes, absolutely. People can take steps in the right direction to begin um, learning more about the conditions that they're afflicted with. And at a certain point, uh, one needs to make this transition into a more practiced way of living, rather than looking for some episodic reprieve from misery. And so, in some ways, people need to lean into a bit of discomfort in the early stages of recovery to set themselves up for more sustainable long-term healing.
Right.
Because it just from our experience, it's hard to find someone have one great therapy session and they never have anxiety for the rest of their life, right?
Right. Right.
Yes, and those states, the ones that people are often seeking to get out of, such as anxiety and depression, oddly enough, they've been practiced.
Mhm.
They've been embodied, so the body and the nervous system is informed by those practices that people have been, in most cases, unconsciously engaged in. And so, what we're doing is really giving people a slow and steady, gradual, little by little, we retune the system, and people can then begin to drop into the parasympathetic nervous system, and then that kind of becomes like home base. And we find
Yeah.
that if we're able to do that, they have a greater degree of self-awareness, meaning they can witness themselves, and they also have a degree of being able to be with feelings without being reactive to them. So they can see them, they can feel them, while being anchored in their core, which
Mhm.
this breath is very centering into the core, and they can feel that anchor while being connected to the feelings, and then really witnessing themselves at the same time. And all of this allows for that gentle untangling that takes
Mhm.
time. It's a steady thing. This isn't for like a one weekend workshop, or I had a great therapy session. This is more like a practice that becomes a way of living, and little by little we begin to embody and live out from this retooled nervous system.
And I guess maybe to just speak to Greg's earlier point about the notion that our depression, our anxiety, certainly our addiction to substances or certain behaviors has become very well practiced, right? It's something that we have been living out on a daily basis, and I think less so on the addiction side of things, but more so on the mental health side of things. It can be really frustrating sometimes for people to examine that practice that they've been living out on a daily basis, like, well, I don't want this depression, why would I be practicing it? And so to create a space in a treatment environment like ours where we can have some of those difficult conversations slowly over the course of time, just so that people can begin to raise awareness and then see the areas in which they are making these commitments or these practices to a way of living they're saying that they don't want any longer. So as much as we wish this was something that could be done overnight, it does take time necessarily. So um, yeah.
Got it. Uh, like lovely. I mean, that's really really lovely. Like, also you speak a lot about the embodied recovery. Uh, so for the listeners who are new to this, or maybe they not completely aware, so what does that actually mean? Like, how it is different from the traditional talk therapy or 12
Yeah.
step models?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I'm feeling something to eat through it. So, um, you know, in a there's a lot of good treatment out there, and a lot of it is to some degree it can be more cognitive based, and so uh, people who are intelligent might very well go in and do a series of worksheets and talk about things, but not really feel a felt shift in their way of living. And so embodied recovery would mean that that I begin to live from that place of recovery, that it's no longer just an idea or a concept or something that I could speak to through a worksheet or I know the right answer. It means that I actually live increasingly from that right answer. And just like if I was depressed or anxious, using substances, my cells would be informed by that. Every aspect of my body would be embodying that as a way of being. Embodying recovery really means that I'm living from that place of integrity, and that integrity is matched by my nervous system, by my actions, by the ways that I'm living and being, so forth and so on. So,
And my guess is that you've probably seen people in your own life that are living a life of embodied anxiety, embodied depression,
embodied hopelessness.
yeah, embodied alcoholism.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so for when we talk about recovery, sometimes people can get this notion in their minds that, well, I'm not an addict, and so I don't need recovery. But we're really talking about this rediscovery of one's true self, authentic sense of self. 12-step recovery is wonderful as a framework for maybe being reacquainted with one's authentic self. And there's so much more that people can work towards regarding their spiritual connection, a deeper emotional connection with themselves and in their relationships. And so we're aiming to take all of these arenas and offer them under one roof.
Mm, got it. Got it. Ooh. And if you can also share a small embodied practice that someone listening can try today.
Yeah.
Avik said is small and so Sundo can be a big bright.
Yeah. Uh, a fun fact for your listening audience, we hold a practice every morning from 6 a.m. to 8:30. So it's not a small practice, but there are opportunities to join us live in the morning if somebody wants to tune in for a larger practice.
Mhm.
Um, one thing that we might do, um, thinking for a listening audience, how much time do I have, Avik? Maybe.
So we have 15 more minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So just a really subtle practice that people can do. You might lengthen this in your own free time. But this is one way to really awaken my sense of focus. And when I deepen my focus, I can perceive different aspects of my reality. So many times when we're stuck in our mind and we're wandering about in our day to day living in a kind of obsessive thinking space, we might not be that tuned in with our physical self and perhaps even so with our energetic self. And one thing that's remarkable about Sundo is it really creates an awareness of my energetic being, which also helps me stay in tune with my emotions and feelings. But we're going to do a really quick practice that can just, this is a stop mind practice. That's the literal translation, Jigam, which means stop mind from Korea. And so just make your fingers touching one another and then tapping like so. And focus your whole mind on the tapping. let go of any external thinking, and just tapping vigorously, and as much as possible, being fully present with your fingertips and tapping, and continue tapping vigorously. Tap, putting your whole self into this present moment and tapping. And now pause and feeling the space in between your hands and noticing when you inhale and exhale what you feel. Again, inhaling and exhale, focusing on the space between your palms. Inhaling deeply into your lower belly and exhaling. Okay, for some of you out there, you may be awakening to the subtle sensation of your energetic field, and that might show up as a kind of a pressure when you inhale. That's
Inhale.
might feel it in between your palms. You might feel the sense of a ball that you're holding. Um, that, that's our chi, that's our prana, that's our life force. And when we're dysregulated, when we're in distress, that
Mhm.
field tends to shut down. It gets cramped, and it becomes harder and harder for us to be in flow and to really feel our sense of connection to ourself and the larger life force
Yeah.
that's taking place. And so practices like this is just a kind of a snapshot of something that's
Mm.
awaken your chi. If you practice Sundo daily, then you'll really develop your field more. So that's maybe a fun thing to try at all.
Exactly. Exactly. Lovely. I also really felt that. I mean, after tapping and then when we started inhaling and exhaling, there I felt the energy in between the hands, in between the two palms, and it I mean comes together when I mean inhale, and it again goes back when I exhale. I mean it's really, I mean I great, dear listeners, you should definitely try this, and yeah, let us know like how you felt about this. It's really a great thing to try in your daily life, and yeah, definitely it has benefits, definitely. Wow. Lovely. So and also like uh Greg and Michael, like for the listeners who's overwhelmed and doesn't know where to start, uh will this be the first step to start, or there is something else you want to mention?
I guess not knowing where to start in terms of maybe starting your own recovery journey or journey of self discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the wonderful thing is that there's so many different places to start.
Hmm.
Just something that we have found is as most effective is this combination of a daily practice of mindfulness and meditation. Sundo's wonderful because it incorporates so many great elements. Uh, Psychotherapy and counseling opportunities to have a safe relationship with someone to talk through challenges in life with. Creative pursuits have been fantastic for our treatment space and for our clients. And so, as long as somebody has that desire and that interest in growing and working on themselves, that's the place to start. There are so many inroads to learn more about oneself, but as long as you're doing it from that place of what can I learn more about myself and the things that I want to work on, rather than how can I read this book to help my loved one? How can I read this book to make my spouse what I want them to be, and so on. As long as people are pursuing this interest from a place of how can I grow, how can I change, how can I live it one that I want to become.
Yeah.
It's all great.
Wow. Yeah, and keeping it simple, if people just start with breath practice, um,
Uh,
the breath is a really marvelous mirror for the condition of the mind. So as I develop my breath, my mental state is going to improve as well as my emotional well-being, and so will my physiology. So breath is just such an exquisite platform for really self-development. And then the only other thing I would add that Mike said, and there's probably hundreds of others that we could, but one great passion of ours in this community, but it's more for people when they've really gone through and done some self-development and have a greater sense of themselves, is the arena of dance and self-expression is just
um,
for uh, for people really opening up to themselves and having a full embodied expression of that loving presence that we're growing through this.
wow, lovely, amazing. And I really love the way like you make healing feel both sacred and practical. Like it's not about being perfect, but it's about being present, and that feels like something we all more of today's fast-paced world. So it's actually we need. And one more section. It might sounds contradictory, but it's not. So so like some people believe that emotional healing is kind of woo woo or kind of less urgent than the physical health.
Mhm.
How do you respond to this skepticism?
Yeah, those people exist.
Uh, that's a, that's a great question. I want to say over the years we've had so many profound healings uh,
Uh,
uh, of a somatic nature. So there's the concept in psychology of psychosomatic, which means essentially the body is the reservoir or is storing the disease that's present in psyche and mind and the emotional self. And when that's unmet and it's not worked through, then it may show up in my body in really profound ways that seem unrelated. And
mhm,
so we have utter conviction because of our own felt sense of shifting in our lives, physically, emotionally, and seeing how they're intertwined. But we've just seen it play out with client after client, and some things have been pretty remarkable and rare. The transformations that have taken place for people. So
Yeah, but this isn't like you know, somebody comes in with a broken leg and they work on their childhood trauma and their leg heals, as much as like what Greg is saying, all of this unresolved emotional buildup over decades tends to manifest as chronic pain and unspecified um, uh, uh, pain issues in the body, pains in the neck and in the back and in the jaw,
digestion and
digestive issues. And so what we've seen is that as people go through this emotional unwinding and this healing journey, incorporating a practice like Sundo and really try to integrate the emotional and the physical components in this kind of symbiotic healing process, the physical ailments begin to clear up. Now, it's not like, again, we're not saying work on the emotional issues and your physical body will heal entirely, but it is something that we've seen when people take the time to work on their emotional hangups and their past traumas, they can experience far more relief in their bodies.
yeah, and one last thing, Avik, if somebody was really skeptical, and we've worked with a number of individuals like that, where they maybe more see the mind and the intellect as having possession of their life, and if you carefully study those individuals, it's quickly revealed that in fact, undergirding all of the intellect and the control system that they have is and it's usually primarily fear. And so there's a deep contraction there. And so even for those people who may come into recovery or a self-growth journey, not believing in those other aspects of themselves, often in most cases in with us working with them, they're pleasantly surprised to discover those other aspects of themselves and to just, for the first time, really get a sense of how much better it feels uh, to meet those aspects of themselves and to awaken to them.
And our exploration of these issues is not one or the other. And so it's we deal with the emotions, and we're not going to talk about the physical complaints. So it really is a holistic view of an individual's suffering, um, and ways that we can support them best towards towards the place they want to get to. So we incorporate acupuncture and psychiatry and nursing, and in addition to the somatic practice, the Sundo practice, psychotherapy, and all of those other.
Perfect. Lovely. Great. Oh, lovely. Greg, Michael, thank you so much to both of you for bringing your wisdom, your lived experience, and also your grounded presence for today's podcast. So,
Thank you.
We're so grateful to be here with the audience and with you. Thank you, Avik.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
lovely. Lovely. And for everyone who is listening right now, or maybe you'll be listening, this is not just about the recovery day listeners. It's all about, I'd say, remembering like who you really are and how deeply your body, mind, spirit want to come back into the harmony. So, this is something really, really great. And if you are struggling, there's definitely a hope. And if you have numbed your emotions, there's a way back. And also, like if you have been chasing healing outside yourself, then I'd say this is the reminder that answers might already be within. So, Greg and Michael, if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the great or best medium?
Yeah, so they can find us online at embodiedrecovery.com. They can call me directly at 888-372-3610. They can also find our nonprofit organization, malocenter.org, which is where we'll have information about upcoming workshops. We have an upcoming Sundo workshop in October. We do an educational talk for the community that's on a donation basis. Anybody can attend. That's on the final Friday of every month. So we have one coming up this Friday. That'll be in person here in Campbell, California, as well as on Zoom. So we're accessible. People can certainly find us.
Amazing. Wow. Lovely. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links into the show notes for your easy reference so that you can easily reach out to them. And do not forget to check out Embodied Recovery and their empowered living teachings. You will find the tools, stories, and practices that don't just sound good, they feel true. Yeah. So, with this hope, until next time, breathe deep, listen within, and remember healing is not a destination, it's a relationship with yourself. So, this is Avik, and you have been listening to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Be well and stay whole. Thank you so much.